Hi, my name is Chris Bishop. I'm a certified financial planner with Partners in Financial Planning. Today, we're going to be giving a presentation on can you save thousands by exchanging your annuity? We've had several clients come in with high-priced annuities, and we were able to exchange them to a much lower cost annuity that was more suitable for them and literally save them tens of thousands per year in expenses. So let's get started and see if perhaps you might be able to save some money by exchanging your annuity. So again, can you save thousands by exchanging your annuity? Just please note the disclosures that are listed out there. This is informational presentation for general educational purposes only and does not constitute financial investment tax or legal advice. You should consult with your own financial advisor to see how this information may pertain to you. So summary of takeaways. First, let's define an annuity. It's simply a contract with an insurance company that adds features to an account, which we're going to talk to a little bit later, and that this account may be annuitized, and we'll explain that as well. You pay for features of an annuity. So this isn't charity. The insurance companies are out to make a profit. And the thing is, a lot of the features that you pay for, you might not actually need, especially if you have clarity in your ability to accomplish your goals through financial planning. And that's what we do here at Partners in Financial Planning. The clients I mentioned to before, we laid out a financial plan. We researched and analyzed if the features of these annuities were really something that were suitable for the clients. In most cases, it's not. And we're able to save them a lot of money by exchanging it into a more appropriate annuity. You may be able to boost investment returns and save big on fees by exchanging your annuity. And again, that's exactly what we look to do. We partner with some low-cost annuity providers that can save a lot of money. And then finally, be aware of surrender charges. A lot of these annuities will charge you during a certain period if you try to get out of them. And a lot of times that makes surrendering them or getting to a new annuity untenable just because of the costs. And we'll talk about that as well. So features of annuity, very high level. There's low cost annuities, which we like. And really, they're all about tax deferred growth. And we'll look at an example of that as well here in a second. Then as you add on more features, you would expect that you add on more cost as well. So the moderate cost has tax deferred growth, but it might have something like guaranteed returns in there as well. And then finally, you get into even higher cost annuities, tax deferred growth, market protection, other guarantees, even long-term care. Sometimes these are known as variable annuities. It's just like if you go to a car dealership and you're adding on all the extras and the upgrades, the car dealership will sell that to you for an additional fee. That's exactly what the insurance companies do with annuities. So let's talk about the main feature that pretty much all annuities have and is a valid reason to have an annuity, and that's tax deferred growth. So just as a note, we're going to be focused on non-qualified annuities. Qualified annuities are ones that come out of, say, a retirement plan with a company. Non-qualified annuities are ones where you just have cash on hand and you're not going through your company or your 401k or 403b. You're just buying an annuity outright, funded again with cash on hand. And you would do this to postpone paying taxes. Again, you can likely keep the money in the annuity as well until your death and aren't subject to required minimum distributions. So 401k, an IRA, those type of accounts, you are subject to required minimum distributions once you get to a certain age. Annuities don't have that requirement. So the thing about annuities as well, heirs generally must withdraw the full balance within 5 years if they inherit it, but the rules can vary on that, and you always need to research what the terms of your particular annuity are. So what's an example of something that where an annuity might be advantageous? Let's just say you have $1 million in a money market generating $40,000 per year in interest. Well, that interest is taxable every year, and that you'll have to report that on your tax return and pay tax each year. And you may not want to do that. I mean, particularly if you're in the higher tax bracket, I mean, this can result potentially in thousands more in taxes each year. So if you move that money into an annuity, you then have tax deferred growth. You can keep the money in an annuity account You could even invest it in the exact same money market that you had before. But now you won't have to pay tax on it each year on your tax return. Instead, you'll only have to pay tax on it when you pull it out of the account. So it is a good vehicle for tax deferred growth. Another annuity feature that you'll see is various types of market protection. Fear is often the catalyst for annuity sales, and this is where market protection comes in. People have emotional reactions to downturns in the market, and so by buying this protection, they kind of insulate themselves and their emotions so they don't have to quote unquote worry about market downturns. But you need to educate yourself and understand what the insurance companies know. And that is markets have always gone on to reach new all-time highs. And this graph here shows a plethora of issues where the markets had downturns, uh, whether that be short-term downturns that might have lasted just for a few months, such as COVID, you can see there. I mean, COVID, for as traumatic as an event as it was, the downturn only lasted a few months, and then the market popped back up and went on to set all-time highs. The subprime mortgage crisis, a little bit longer. That took about a year and a half or so for that to kind of stabilize. But historically, we know that the markets always go on to set new all-time highs. And the insurance companies know this. So they know, based on history, that over the long term, the markets are going to rebound, and the market protection that they're offering you is going to make them money because, again, they're going to be charging for that. Also, what the insurance companies know is markets historically win more than lose. And so we're looking at the S&P 500 annual returns here. The green is where it was a positive return, the red where it was a negative return. And you can see the green greatly outnumbers the red. And so again, it goes back to what the insurance companies know historically about the markets. They also know probably if there was some catastrophic event, they would either get a bailout or you know what, they're going bankrupt and you're not going to be able to get your money from them anyway. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but a lot of times we see people come in fearing kind of the doomsday scenario. And honestly, in doomsday scenarios, these market protection features you might buy on annuity really won't matter that much at all if everything is collapsed because everything will go into bankruptcy or worse. So let's talk more about annuity features and market protection and when the insurance companies offer these. So the first one, upside potential is capped, and the insurance company pockets everything above the cap. And we're going to look at an example of this here in a second too, where the insurance company sets the rules. You're not going to get the full market return. They're going to make sure that they get a large cut of the returns, as well as make money off of you on the expenses of different features. So again, the insurance company controls the rules. And that goes into the second one here. The insurance company likely controls what part of the market return you get and can change the rules in future years. So when you're evaluating an annuity, a lot of times you really don't know what you're buying because on down the road, the insurance company can change the rules on you. Often the annuity return stated excludes reinvestment of dividends, which is a big part of the overall return in the market. And so you're giving up that return, you're just handing it over to the insurance company, and they'll gladly take it to pad their profits. Next is protection from principal loss when the market goes down. And so this is a big selling point for some people because they know they won't have the emotional stress of a down market. We would say, yeah, the down market is a normal thing. It occurs regularly. And we, again, know what the insurance companies know, and that's the markets then go on to set all new all-time highs. So when you're faced with these emotional times in the market, you just need to focus on what the facts are as opposed to those emotions. But of course, the insurance companies will charge you to offer you a product that will help you kind of feel better, even though you might be losing money. And that is floors. You won't lose, you can't lose any amount of money in a particular year, or you'll only lose this sort of money even if the market goes down considerably more. So again, protection from principal loss is another market feature that they'll sell. They'll also have gains that are locked in at certain dates. So it might be every January 1st, your annuity will set a new floor saying that your annuity balance can't go below this amount, um, which is again kind of offering you a feature that you can buy to give you some comfort emotionally. And finally, you're paying to avoid, again, the negative feelings in a down market. That's really what a lot of these features are about when it comes to market protection. You pay the insurance company so you don't feel as bad when the market goes down. Of course, unbeknownst to you, you don't see that all the profits that you are losing. And so since that's not front and center in front of your face and you're not really aware of it a lot of the times, that doesn't bother you. But if you see an example, it might. And so let's go ahead and look at that annuity feature market protection case study. So in this, we're talking about small numbers, $1,000 initial investment. And here's the parameters of an annuity that we're gonna look at. The first you can see there is 100% participation rate. You get all of the index gain subject to the cap rate. So let's just say your annuity is based on the S&P 500 and you have 100% participation rate. Well, that means that the S&P 500 goes up 12%, you can take part in the whole 12% return. Let's just say the participation rate was 80% and the S&P 500 went up 10%. Well, the most you could make then would be 8% return because you're only participating in 80% of the index return. So that's the first parameter. The second parameter is 8% cap rate, the max you can earn in a year. So let's go back to the other example. 100% participation rate, S&P 500 goes up 12%, but you have an 8% cap rate. So even though you have a 100% participation rate, you're only going to get the 8% return from the 12% S&P 500 return because of that cap rate. So again, the cap rate, even if the index goes up more than that, that's your top level return that you can get. Another parameter here that we have set to 0 is the spread, so the amount taken off the top of the gain. So you might have a cap rate of 8% with a 1% spread. That really means the max you could ever get would be 7% because you're capped at 8, plus they're just going to take a 1% off of that. And then finally, the floor, 0% here. That's the lowest you can earn. And so that makes a lot of people feel good that, hey, I will never earn less than 0%. I'll never have a negative return on this annuity. And that makes people feel really good and protected, but it costs you, and we'll see about that. So in this scenario, we're looking at 2006 to 2020, so about a 14, 15-year period, which encompasses the financial crisis of 2008, 2009, one of the worst crises that we've seen as far as a downturn in the market. And it lasted, a year and a half, 2 years, something like that, before it was able to rebound. And so let's compare how things go with annuity versus investing on your own. So 2006, you can see the index, the S&P 500 index, 13.62%. Your cap rate is 8%, so that's as much as you're going to take on that. And so even though the market returned 13.62, you're only going to take 8. And so the interest is $80. Because this is an insurance product, we see the gain reflected as interest. And then the ending amount is $1,080. So let's compare that to investing on your own. Your index with reinvested dividends is 15.85%. So you're making more than what the insurance company likely communicated to you about what the return of the S&P 500 is. So you get to keep all of it. You don't have a cap rate, you keep the invested dividends. And so here you are, you're outperforming the annuity already in the first year, $1,080 to $1,152 after tax. And we're just making some general assumptions there about after tax. Your particular situation may be different. Well, we go to 2007. You can see the index went up 3.53%. You're going to get all of that because your 100% participation, that's below the cap rate. So you're going to get the whole 3.53. You see that reflected there. Compare that to 2007 investing on your own. The return is going to be higher, again, because you get the index plus the reinvested dividends. And so you can see you're outpacing the annuity. But in 2008, that's where the annuity shines. That's where if you bought this annuity, you're telling yourself, well, thank goodness I bought this annuity. Look how smart I am. I just got protected from one of the worst downturns in the history of the market. 2008 goes down almost 39%, but you have the 0% floor. So you lose absolutely nothing. You're feeling great about yourself. Because when you compare that to investing on your own, you would have lost a ton. You would have been left with $765 compared to the annuity, which is now, almost $400 above where you would have been investing on your own. But we have to look at the long term because, as we've said, historically, the markets always go on to set new all-time highs. This is what the insurance company knows. This is what you should know. So let's just fast forward through the years down to 2020. And you can see in the end, the annuity is valued at $2,235, investing on your own a little bit over $4,000. You end up with 81% more by investing on your own. Even more if you factor in other annuity fees that we're not really taking into account here. So for every $100,000 in the annuity, you're missing out on 80,000 in additional returns over this particular time period. The annuity feature does have market protection. It protects you from realizing the full market potential and protects you from larger gains. So a good scenario for you to be familiar with and how much you actually pay to have an annuity. You pay a ton of money for the protection that you're buying. So other annuity features, we're not going to spend a lot of time here, but guaranteed income, guaranteed withdrawal rates. A lot of people mistake withdrawal rate with return. They'll see like a guaranteed 6% withdrawal rate and equate that in their mind to a guaranteed 6% return. Well, no, it's just a withdrawal rate, that money that you can take out. They've stockpiled so much in profits from the example we've seen before and the cost to have this feature that sure, they'll tell you that you can take out 6% guaranteed, no problem. Whereas, if you just kept the money yourself, there's a high likelihood you could have withdrawn a lot more than 6% over the life of your investments. You can also buy cost of living features as well. But again, all these things come with additional costs. Situations for annuities. So the first one, maybe a person has limited resource and they have a need for stable income for life. So maybe a single premium immediate annuity. Immediate annuity is where the income starts now. You start receiving monthly or annual payments. Or a single premium deferred annuity. So that might be you buy an annuity and 5 years from now, the monthly payments will start. These can be valuable products. Annuities and income streams can add stability into a financial plan. And these are usually very low cost because really the only feature is that it's tax deferred growth within the account. You may remember that as the lowest cost type of annuities. There's no guarantees. There's no anything like that. It's, you hand over a lump sum of money and they start paying out a monthly amount for the rest of your life. So these are very low cost and suitable annuities in a lot of situations. Annuity is another situation for an annuity is principal protection for a period of time, say 3 to 5 years. There's what's called a MYGA, multi-year guaranteed annuity. And this is suitable as rates are typically better than a CD or a treasury. But in MYGAs, if you'd have an early withdrawal, if you want to take the money out before the term ends, the fees are usually much higher. So you do have to keep that into account. And again, these are usually very low cost annuities, so they are suitable for a lot of situations. Another situation for annuity we kind of talked about, market protection for the anxious. So you pay a ton of money to have this feeling of protection, which a lot of people that we've dealt with, they're really kind of feeling fearing the apocalypse or just some sort of extreme event. And in that sort of event, the annuity company is probably not going to be there anyway. You're going to lose your money anyway. So, we just kind of view these market protections as just paying a lot of money for not really a lot of value. Instead, why wouldn't you just have a conservative portfolio allocation? You probably end up making more in the long run, and it would satisfy a less volatile conservative portfolio in much the same way. Also, just as a note, know your state guarantee limit per person and per insurance company if you do have an annuity. So if you had a $500,000 annuity with one company and your state's state guarantee limit was only 250,000, then if in the event that the insurance company did go bankrupt, the state would only back up 250,000 of that 500,000. So something to keep in mind. Making an annuity change. Is the annuity in an IRA with no surrender charges and no need for the features? Well, it's really easy. You just have the annuity surrendered into the IRA, the cash goes into the IRA, and then from there, you can invest it in pretty much anything that you want. Also, a transfer of a 1035 exchange. Again, if there's no surrender charges in the annuity and you don't need the features, generally you can transfer and exchange that annuity for a much cheaper annuity, saving you 1 to 3% or more, and capture more of the full return of your investments. I will go back and just reiterate the surrender charges. A lot of times those will exist for the first 7 years when you purchase an annuity. And the percentage that you would have to pay to get out of the annuity really makes it untenable to make an exchange. A lot of times you just have to wait out the 7-year period or whatever that period might be for the surrender charges to expire. So we are Partners in Financial Planning, a comprehensive financial planning firm here out of Salem, Virginia, although we work with clients all over the United States. We have a minimum 700,000 investment assets. Our fees are 1% or less of the investment assets. You can check out our website or set up a meeting with us if you'd like to have a consultation. We do this all the time as far as getting folks out of very expensive annuities. One thing I will mention, Fidelity is one of the companies that we work with to exchange annuities. So if you want to try to do this on your own, do recommend maybe contacting Fidelity and ask them about their low-cost annuities. They do sell higher priced annuities too, but I have found that they are very conscious about what's best for the client. And so you could have them do an evaluation for you if you wanted to do this on your own as well. So feel free to give us a call if you want to talk about your situation. We'd love to do that. Thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation.